again. Yes, I hope the live didn't, yes, it didn't stop, so we can continue. So why don't we go one by one and quickly introduce ourselves and tell what experience you have in like couple of sentences, either organizing or participating in the festival, or what was the most recent festival you participated in. So, oh, Tanya, hi. Good to see you. Good to hear you.
Hi, can you see me?
Well, we cannot see you, but we can hear you.
Okay, good. Hello.
So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, I will try to make you see me. Just a second. Okay. How do I do that? Oh my God.
And Alex is here.
Hello. Hey there.
Hello. So we're doing a quick introduction of everyone. So
Hi.
Hi.
My name is I'm a theater director, and I don't think I have much experience in organizing theaters. The first one was somewhere in year 2010. We were doing theater for festival for school theaters in Ukraine. And also it was an international, the next year it was an international festival, and that was while I was studying at the university. So that's actually it. And I was taking part in project fests. I guess the first, I took active part in the first project fest. And afterwards, I'm mostly being a participant of other festivals with influences.
Thank you. Okay, Alex.
Alex what?
Alex what? For those who don't know Alex.
Yeah, well, hi guys, my name is Alex Borodensky. I am the founder of English Theater of Ukraine. And as a part of the theater, I guess 6 years ago, we decided that we needed to have some kind of festival that would put together the best accomplishments of English theater, plus would encourage the foreigners and Ukrainian teams to create theatrical product in English. And we created this festival that was called and is called Prague Fest, the one that Tanya mentions. We had 5 installations of this festival, and I'm very pleased to say that Heather Messi, who is currently in the chat, was a participant and the winner of Prague Fest. I guess it was Prague Fest 3, and she got the main prize as the best performance and the best female performer as well. So eventually we did achieve its goal. Out of a small local festival, we had an experience of bringing in, making it an international level festival, hosting participants from USA, UK, I guess we had Canada. Yeah, we had Canada, Israel, and so on and so forth. We had it for 5 years, and the culmination of this festival was last year, the year of invasion, the year when Russia attacked Ukraine. We still managed to keep the festival, and we specifically made it around the Independence Day of Ukraine. So it was close to 24th of August, which is the Independence Day, and we still had it with only Ukrainian participants in Kiev, but lots of international participants online. Veronica probably remembers that period, and that's when we decided we need to change things. It was a strong gesture in itself having Prague Fest on that year, but we wanted to move further, and we still wanted to bring foreigners to Ukraine, even if these years of fight and turmoil. We still believe that it's possible not only to defend the country and fight, but to create some art together in collaboration, to bring art to Ukraine, to give Ukrainians relief, not only in terms of weapon and military, but in terms of artistic descent, artistic, artistic paratroopers. And this year we call it Ukraine Fringe. It's a totally new format. Anastasia Larina, who is also in the chat, she is the current president. And I'm they are kind of like a shadow cardinal, the gray one. But it's gonna be a new format, and I do believe 1 year we're gonna compete at Edinburgh with Ukraine Fringe.
Okay, thank you. Jerry. Yeah, why don't you tell a little bit about your festival?
Oh, great, thank you. And greetings to you, everyone, once again. My name is Jerry Adeshewo. I'm a Nigerian, and I am a theater maker. I run the Aroja Royal Theater. It's a small independent theater in Abuja, which is the federal capital of Nigeria. And we've been around for a while, and of course, in terms of festivals, our first experience at putting together a festival was back in 2015, when after my visit to the sweet stage, is this called sweet stage or sweat stage? You know, the performing arts for young audience in Sweden in 2014. I got back home and I felt like, oh, this is something we should be able to do without any prior experience or whatever. And we started a very small festival that we call Abuja Children Theater Festival, Art Fest, you know, and that happened. We were able to stage 4 editions of that festival until 2020, when again, the need arises for us to have an international theater festival in Nigeria, because from my experience and movement participating in festivals around the world, there has always been one question: when is your own festival? When is your own festival? So with some colleagues, we come together and we felt the need to have a festival in Abuja, Nigeria. Again, because we know ourselves and we know the situation around there, it was obvious that we cannot pull 2 festivals, you know, together at the same time. So we had to collapse the Children Festival, you know, to give room for the Abuja International Theater Festival, which, however, will debut this November. October 31st to November 5th is when we are going to have the first edition of that festival in Abuja, Nigeria. That's pretty much it. But in terms of participation, like I was sharing before we kicked off, I have had the fair chance of attending at least 1 or 2 festivals around the world in the last 10 years, thereabout, you know, attending festival. The most recent being the BTEF festival in Serbia last September, I think. And hopefully, if economic situation allows, we are back in Serbia this November for the Artistic Congress. So I have had more experience of attending festival, participating in festivals around the world than organizing one. So, and I hope, like I said earlier on, and I think we have also participated in Pro Act 2021 virtually. You know, we made him a submission, which was a play titled What the Hunter Saw, you know, which we submitted virtually for participation because we could not, you know, afford to travel. So that's pretty much about it. I have festival has come to be my first love. I like to be around festivals, whether in Nigeria or anywhere around the world, for as long as I can afford to. Thank you.
Thank you. Heather, why don't you share a few words about yourself?
Yes. So I'm Heather Massey. I'm based in New York City. I do a solo play, which Alex was speaking of. So it's Hetty, The Life and Inventions of Hetty Lamar, about the actress and inventor Hetty Lamar, the Hollywood film star who invented technology for torpedoes during World War II that we use in our wireless communication now. I celebrate her as a woman of science. And yeah, so I first started performing in festivals with this show in 2016. I started in New York City. And then started going around the world and around the country with a lot of fringe festivals, and started with Galway Fringe, which I think is done for now. Maybe eventually it will come back in a different format, but that's in Ireland. Proact Fest, I've been to Ireland, Northern Ireland, Sweden, Finland, Italy, Ukraine, Egypt, Tunisia, Zimbabwe, and South Africa. Yeah. So I just found that I got funding to go to Zimbabwe at the end of September, which is good because I went last year and the festival changed dates while I was already in Africa. So I said I can't pay to come again. So we got funding. I'm very excited to go back to Bulawayo because that's where my goddaughter Leslie is. I met her father in 2008. The first time I went to the Antwasa Arts Festival in Bulawayo, that was with my friend Leslie, my best friend. He has since passed away, and my goddaughter's named after her. Yeah, so yeah, my last festival was in Tunisia, and my next one will be Zimbabwe, and I've been invited to Algeria. We'll see. It's the exact same dates as something else, so we'll see. That's right after yours, Jerry. So I was like, could I do both? Anyway, we'll see.
Thank you.
All right, nice to meet all of you. I know many of you, and it's nice to meet the new one.
Thank you. Leo, what about you?
Yes. So I do recognize a number of faces in this conversation. So I suppose we start to know each other. I'm Leo. I'm the executive director of Barons Court Theatre in London, which is a small pub theatre, like a 50-seat studio. Experience with festival started, I suppose, in 2015. We took a show to Edinburgh as a company. We were not connected to Barons Court Theatre back then, but we are a producing company, and we took a show to Edinburgh Festival. And then as Barons Court Theatre, we are organizing one in September. It's the 3rd edition we do this year. It's a festival of short plays, and we are now at the stage where we're reading submissions. A lot of American writers. We have, I think, we're getting close to 300 submissions. We need to choose 15. So yeah, we have some reading to do. So that's called the Reboot Festival, and it's 3 weeks of short plays. Yeah, basically 15 short plays, each of them getting 5 performances. And from next year, we are planning, there's an existing festival in London called Voila, which is meant to be a European festival, and we're talking to the organizers. So this originated in another theater in London. We've talked to them to expand it and make it a multi-venue festival. So hopefully, I think there's like 8 theaters registered as of now. So hopefully in autumn 2024, we will have like a big European festival in London that stretches across 8 venues. And I think this is mostly Jerry, if it's an international festival. Reboot is international in the sense that we get scripts from all over the world, but we create the shows here. So we create the plays with local directors and local actors, but we're open to receiving scripts from all over the world. The only condition is that they're maximum 20 minutes long, and they're in English. And it might be interesting, the Voila Festival that I'm talking about, autumn 2024. Hopefully you will hear about it, because we want to make it quite big. Again, if there's 8 venues, we want to get some press interest and everything, and that will have a clear section of bringing shows, ready-made shows from outside the UK. From mostly Europe, but not necessarily only Europe. They say that it's a festival about languages rather than about nationalities. So obviously Nigeria is an English-speaking language country, and that sort of stuff. I think this is it by and large. I don't want to talk too much.
That's great. Thank you.
Yeah, I have a question to Leo, if I may.
Yeah, sure.
Leo, how long have you been doing a reboot? And what was the original inspiration for it? I'm quite interested in the format since we're doing something similar with Ukraine war texts. So how long? And the other question, are you still open for this year submissions for the text?
Yes, the submission window closes on 7th of August. If you go to the production company's website, kiboproductions.com, you will see, bear with me, I can put the link in the chat. We've got a really beautiful script. I really hope it makes the cut. I have a strong word, but I'm not the only deciding factor, so I can't say it will. But yeah, it's a really beautiful script from Ukraine. I hope we're gonna get to see it. It's a writer called Anna Halas. Is that
Anna Halas? Yeah, I know her. She's
okay?
great.
Oh,
Yeah, I know her. Really nice.
well, yeah, she did submit a play to us, and I really like her script. So this
Okay.
is the 3rd edition of Reboot. The original inspiration is quite trivial, actually. So we took over Balance Score Theater immediately, like at the end of the pandemic in the autumn of 2021. And when we took over, obviously, like it was a space, it was an empty room, but we didn't have any programming. So we wanted to bring as many people in to see the space. And we thought, what's the easiest way to bring people in? Let's do short plays. Let's do short plays because then we have 5-6 teams every night rather than having just one team. And then, yeah, we've done this sort of night evenings of short plays before. And when we do, we want to give them, usually in London, they get 1 or 2 performances. We like to give them 5 performances because it's a bit more time for actors to take ownership of the script. We can get reviewers in easier. So there's a number of advantages to doing more performances. And we did it over 3 weeks because, again, it's a bit of a standard format that the sort of the press and the awards assessors in London like. They ask for kind of 3 weeks runs, yeah, minimum 15 performances. So we do 3 lineups. Each lineup has 5 or 6 plays, and each lineup happens over a week. And so we did the first edition in 2021, and the purpose was, let's get people into the theater, let's get as many people into the theater, let's get people learn about the space and see what they can do in it. And then last year we didn't even, like, we were not really planning, but people kept asking us when is the second edition happening, when is the second edition happening. So we're like, well, I suppose we have to do the second edition. So we did the second edition, and then this year we fully embraced it. We were like, okay, we're gonna do this every year. So yeah, it's happening in September.
Awesome. Thank you. Julie. Hey.
Hey.
Hey, good to see you. So what was the most recent festival you've participated in?
It was in 2019. It was the only time I participated into a festival, the Avignon Festival, which is the largest French-speaking theater festival. It's in southern France. It's every year. It lasts 3 weeks. And that was the only time I've been there with the first production of my theater company and it was Fool for Love by Sam Shepard. And we performed there, and that was quite a challenge. And because this is overwhelmingly a French-speaking festival, but we were performing a play in English with French subtitles. Sam Shepard is famous, but not so much as a playwright in France. And obviously the company was not famous. None of the actors were either. So that was a bet, and it paid, to be honest. It was a wonderful experience, and we were supposed to do it the year after in 2020, and well, COVID happened. Hello. And for many reasons, I had to give up on Fool for Love and started working on a new production, which is L'Imposteur. And the next experience will be the Ukraine Fringe.
Yay.
Yay!
And I believe it's going to be a great experience.
You better.
I'm not comparing ourselves to Avignon, but we have the card.
Not yet, Alex, not yet. Give it 3 years.
Yeah, we'll see.
I think as soon as the war is over, it's gonna be like a lot of people will want to come to Ukraine because there will be a lot of opportunities for development. And yeah, it's important. Like obviously safety is important. People want to feel safe, but as soon as the war is over, things are gonna settle into a nice rhythm, whenever that might be.
Thank you, Leo. That's why we say come to the festival while it's summer. It might be a little bit more problematic in winter with the electricity shortages and stuff. But right now we got the sun, we got the air, we got it all for a good festival. We'll see.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, Diana.
Hi, yes, I'm Diana Varco. I am a solo theater artist, and I have been doing mainly fringe festivals for the last few years. I've done a number of virtual festivals actually during 2020, 2021, and 2022, including ProAct Fest, which that was amazing. And I was at Edinburgh Fringe during that same time. So part of the really rewarding experience of the festival was being able to be part of ProAct Fest with fellow artists in another festival too. It was really cool, and we all talked about that. So thank you for having us be part of it. And I would love to come to Ukraine Fringe this year, but maybe next. And I recently did Reykjavik Fringe too, where I saw Book of Sirens, and that again was a really rewarding experience. So I enjoy doing the fringes very much so, and as a solo artist it's always a challenge, so it's really exciting to meet new people and new opportunities.
Thank you. Eric, what about you?
I am in my current incarnation, I'm the chair of a small theater department in Ohio at one of the branches of Kent State University. I myself have not participated in a festival since 2005 as a performer or whatnot. Primarily now, I spend a lot of my time mentoring students on how to take things to the fringe festivals that we have either here in the United States or Edinburgh, because that's the one my students have heard of. They aim for Edinburgh and whatnot. So, and I've been working particularly trying to broaden my students' horizons and get them out of their rut, because often several of my students have just never even left the U.S. state of Ohio, and that there is a big world out there. So that is primarily where I have been. Would love to go to some festivals, but unfortunately, I'm kind of chained to my desk a little bit here. So, but
I see. Is that
I have a question to Eric, if I may. Do you have some kind of theatrical gathering in the university, since you have the department? Do you have, I don't know, theater week that's potentially can be turned into the festival? Because we have some student theater festival down here, and I wonder if you guys have something of a kind.
We at least right here, no, there are some towns do, where especially if it's a city that has a number of different universities in it. For example, Pittsburgh, which is not too far away from us, it has a number of university theater departments, and they do kind of get together and have a sort of a small festival. Here, we're kind of the only ones nearby, so.
I see. I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
I see. Is that everybody?
Yes.
No.
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 Not me.
Oh, right. Anastasia.
Okay, hi everybody. What was the question? Last experience with festivals?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. My last experience with festivals. I am a festival. I have been working on festivals for many years. I'm a theater producer, but in fact, I am like a mother of theater groups on every festival where I work. And my whole life was connected to the festivals, theater festivals, because I was born in Kherson, and I grew up in Kherson, and there is a very huge Ukrainian festival that is called Melpomen of Tavria, and it is quite famous. And when I was 12 years old, I went to the first festival. And I think I didn't go to school for a week because I had 3 performances in a day that I had to see because they were so great and I was so inspired. So I decided to connect my life to theater festivals. And now I am who am I on Melpomen of Tavria? I'm the program director, yeah. And I'm also the coordinator of Ukraine Fringe, our first beautiful festival. And both of my festivals will be in September. So I'm a little bit tired now. Yeah. I want to just sleep, but I'm excited. I want to say something about Ukraine Fringe. Is it the right time to do that?
I think that we will talk about it later.
Okay, later. So I think that's it for now.
Yeah, but you guys, if I may, you absolutely should know the story how me and Nastya met. We brought this theatrical performance, of Stusanina, theatrical performance in Ukraine to Melpomen of Tavria, to Kherson, several years ago. And one of the parts of this performance is the toy tank, small tank that's radio, that has radio thing, and it moves. And the moment Nastya sees this tank, she grabs this controller and she starts operating the tank. Since that moment, and it was not even a performance yet, it was just, us coming. Since that moment, I knew that one day Nastya's gonna run Ukraine Fringe, because we never take things seriously here, and she brings this wonderful, wonderful spirit and humor to the festival. I'm super happy to have Nastya on board as the coordinator. And I think
I also bring you wine. I also brought you wine, the red one. Yeah, twice.
That sorts things out.
From our office, and it shouldn't be yours, but
yes.
Do you make wine in Ukraine?
Of course.
Yeah, we make wine in Ukraine, and in Kherson region there are a lot of wineries, and we had a very good red wine in our office, and we were drinking, and then Alex came with some question, and he said, "Oh, red wine." Okay.
I got all the answers.
Okay, so I guess now it's time to split into our little breakout rooms. We usually split into like smaller breakout rooms to, talk a little bit more, discuss some certain questions. And my first question, because most of us, not all of us have been organizing the festivals, but most of us have been participating in festivals. How do you choose which festival you participate in? And the second question is, how do you find money to go? Yeah, what as an independent artist or theater company, like where do you get the money to go to this festival, and how do you choose the festival which you would like to go. So now I will open the breakout rooms, and like you'll have around 10 minutes to discuss these questions with the people in your room, and then we'll come back and maybe share some important insights from what you heard and shared. And a couple people will stay with me
Okay.
to keep me company. I guess it's Julie and Diane. Okay. So yeah, the first question would be, yes, how do you choose the festival to participate?
I remember, well, I haven't been to many festivals, to be honest. This is only my second experience oranges right now. The first one was chosen because we had an opportunity, basically. We were offered, it was really random and out of luck. I was in the middle of the production of Full for Love in Avignon, and a friend of mine, her husband is running a venue in Avignon. And it was a residency, sort of. And we happened to do the final product, to show the final product, and he just loved it. And he offered us the opportunity to do the French, to do the Avignon Festival the following year. And also I was very lucky because Avignon is pretty expensive. I mean, it's pretty in terms of production, it's pretty expensive. And Full for Love, you got 4 actors on stage. You got the stage manager. You got to find someone to project the subtitles, because this is something that requires your entire brain to do for an hour and a half. So it cannot be done by the stage manager. So, and you got to pay all those people. So plus housing, plus poster flyers and blah, blah, blah. So it's a huge budget. And I was very fortunate, very lucky, because this guy who runs the theater, the venue, he gave me the name of his producer, and he's been my producer ever since. So I also produced Avignon. He didn't put all the money. I mean, he didn't pay for everything, but it helped a lot, definitely. And so that was that was the reason. But also Avignon is such a big, famous festival as well. It's a big market as well. So this is a bit of like the Edinburgh Fringe, I would say, is that, especially when you're not famous at all and it's the first time, you got to do several times. You got to run several auditions before it's paying back. So I knew that I was going to Avignon, and that the purpose was not to make any money, but to make ourselves a name. And we were on the verge of doing that, to be honest. There were like, this director of theater, he used to run awards, for small shows, short shows, and in small venues. And we won. We were nominated in several categories, and we won several prizes, several awards. So we were thrilled. And then 2 months later, it's COVID. So that's what it is. And but otherwise we would have come back as many times as necessary. The other reasons why I would Ukraine French is same. It's because I happened to be in the conversation, and Alex was like, how can we convince people from the world to come to the Ukraine French?
But that's such a brave decision.
This one is very particularly specific, because it's very political, and it's the opportunity showed up, obviously, but also I think because it's what it is, and because this is very close to my heart as a European citizen, obviously. And I don't know how it's gonna work. I know it's gonna be difficult logistically, et cetera. I'm going alone. I'm doing a show in English and French. And yeah, the show is in French and English. I'm gonna maybe stop talking because I always over talk. You're
No, you're great. You're great. I'm so into, I'm like,
oh, I cannot hear you, Dinah, anymore. No.
I say keep going. You're really interesting, and I'm learning a lot too.
But this one is very political, to be honest. So this is a solo show that I'm doing now. I really thought in terms of production, this one, because with my experience with the first one, which was great, which is amazing, but in terms of production was a fucking nightmare, and very expensive, and logistically was really a nightmare. So this one, it's just me on stage, no set, or very minimum set, no costume, and so it's very. I tried to keep it very simple in terms of production, so I can export it. And because I really want to travel with that show and French, and this is also what I want to do, is that I want to do it in French, obviously, but this is something I want to travel with, because not only because it's in 2 different languages and it's mostly in English, but also because it speaks about something that is widely shared around the world, which is the imposter syndrome. So this is
Yep.
so this is really
universal topic.
low.
Yeah.
So yes, so that's and also I would go to fringes where my producer agrees to produce me. So that's also how I pick the fringes. He was not overly excited when I mentioned the Ukraine fringe, to be honest. But I mean, for obvious reasons, because everyone is obviously it's war. So hey, you want to go to Ukraine? Yoo-hoo! No, but I must say that for example, I haven't told my parents. I won't tell them before I can't. They're overly protective, and anxious. They are the generation, they are boomers, so their parents went through wars. So obviously, I cannot tell them. I will tell them when I'm back.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to say. You don't even tell them that you were on the festival in Ukraine right now. You tell them after.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, I cannot. So that's
Yeah. Let them see the pictures online.
exactly. I'm done.
Yeah, then
And
what about you? Because I know that you've been to like a lot of different festivals, and Edinburgh and Reykjavik several times.
Wow.
So
yeah. I honestly know what to do, how to pick festivals, and I just started applying to them. And that's how I developed a tour last year. But it was interesting because I started with virtual, because those were, of course, it was COVID, but it was also a lot more cost effective to quote unquote travel with my show and still connect with organizations and the festival in Australia, but not have to have the travel costs of going to Australia. Although someday I hope I'll be able to. But with my show, I'm a solo artist, and I talk on universal subjects like the imposter syndrome, but around mental health and healing. So I use comedy and character work to kind of bring about some difficult conversations too. And the reason I picked Edinburgh a couple years ago was because I just hadn't been yet to Edinburgh, and it happened to be in August, and it's the biggest festival. So that kind of, as a solo artist, was, you know, the place, the challenge. But it also was in August, and that was it corresponded with the 10th anniversary of the attack or the assault I talk about in my show Shattered. So for me, it was a very strong why of really taking over that month and making it mean something different for me. So now I try to go back every year. I'll be going this year, and in a couple of weeks. I don't do the full festival anymore because it's too cost intensive. But now I go back. I'm going back with a new show that's also on mental health, but more on childhood experiences and how those show up in adulthood. And still funny, and you know, it's magical realism, but it's like some difficult topics to approach. But now I'm going back to Edinburgh for that same reason, to be part of the festival in August, but also for artist support, because I think that it's a big learning curve. With festivals, it's cost intensive. It's you grow a lot as a person, but it can, you know, it's rewarding and challenging at the same time. With Reykjavik, I really like that the Nordic fringes are one application, so that's an easy way to like pick all of them if you get in. But with Reykjavik, I just always wanted to go to Iceland, and so I applied a couple of years ago and got in, but it was COVID, and then I went last year, and then this year I went to preview my show before Edinburgh, and it's just a really lovely festival. So I would go back if I could fund it. I think that money is always a challenge when you have to travel. I've done crowdfunding. I don't know if that's a route I can go again, because I think that after COVID, my first fundraiser was before COVID. So it was just a different landscape as far as what people care about, finances. There's inflation now. There's a lot happening. Obviously, you know that. But now I find that crowdfunding is a little different than it was before COVID for me. So I probably wouldn't go crowdfunding as much. But now I'm looking at like trying to do sponsorship or apply for grants or find some way to fund.
Yeah.
And I'm starting to like coach and advise on artists going to Edinburgh, because I think that it's really challenging to keep your mindset in a certain way. So I try to offer what I've learned.
That's amazing. Yeah, because apart from, you know, leading the West and being the like president manager of West, like me and Alex, you know, only two people who are managing all of it. I also help at Pro English Theatre with grant applications and festival applications, and it's a lot of work because for example, we've been accepted to this one festival in Sri Lanka, and we first agreed to go to Sri Lanka, but then we realized that it's like $2,000 for one person just to travel one way, right? And like we can't afford that, and we don't have any sponsors, and we don't have any grants or time to find the grant for the specific trip. So we had to ask them for like online participation or something. Yeah.
I'm wondering, I'm so sorry to interrupt.
Yeah,
you.
sure.
I really think that we should draw attention to the Ukraine Fringe. Such an incredible event. Alex had the opportunity to work with the Théâtre du Soleil.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, I'm serious. And Ayane Mouchine is really like famous in France. There was and they did they did an interview of her on the radio, on the national radio, and she spoke about what the workshop she did with Alex, and not just Alex, obviously, but all the Ukrainian young actors, students or not students. and this is such an opportunity to draw, to draw attention. So maybe that could be interesting to, because I don't have any contact with the French media in general, but I can certainly send a couple of emails or do that. But that would be interesting, because if you draw attention, you get potential money, and that would help everyone, obviously. So, but I mean, yeah, this
Yeah,
is,
we were very lucky with the Ukraine Fringe funding, because usually with the project fests, we were like self-funded. We got for like 5 editions. We apply each year for some grants, and we only got it once. We got a grant, and this year we were very lucky to receive a grant from Kyiv School of Economics. It's an independent university, and they kind of give grants to talents of Ukraine. It's actually called like Talents of Ukraine, and this is a very cool organization that's like gave us money for Ukraine Fringe, and we able to do it because, again, like it's such a big work that we are doing, and nothing that we've done before. Because usually like Project Fest is like 2 days, one venue, like in Kyiv program. And this time we're doing 3 venues, 4 days, with full of workshops, performances, open mics, monologue nights, so different events. And yeah,
It's going to be so great.
yeah, and that's why
Oh, it sounds so great.
yeah, let's try to bring attention from other countries for, like, especially if we had like I'm really thinking about the fact that Mushkin came to Ukraine, to Kiev. So there is definitely something we can do out of that. So because the idea is to have the Fringe every year, as
Yeah.
many times as right? So, to get that money and to get the attention, so we can come back next year, have it bigger, better,
and hopefully peaceful.
and hopefully peaceful.
Yes.
That's
Okay.
Yes. And I find that the grants are really hard they are time consuming.
Yeah.
The research, the writing, the everything. And so it's like, oftentimes with funding, people are like, oh, apply for a grant. I'm like, I as a self-producing artist,
Yeah.
I'm rehearsing
impossible.
press, I'm doing graphic design. I'm like, I don't have time to do grants. So but then you can't do it without the money.
Yeah, because to fill one grant, it takes us like at least 2 people, to work just on one grant, because it's time consuming, and there is no guarantee that you will get it.
That's actually a real job.
Yeah.
That's a real job.
Yeah.
Except that we are all multitasking.
Yeah.
We don't have much of a choice.
We should have a West on that, a theater club on grant writing. That's a useful skill too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think we should ask artists.
No.
Welcome back.
Well.
Welcome back. Okay. How was it? What did you learn from the conference? Alex, can you share a few words?
Yeah, sure. We discussed quite a few of, say, strategies on picking the festival. And finally, they are very, very similar. Like something that Eric says was hilarious. Like he said, like in the beginning, you don't really choose the festival. The festival chooses you in the beginning of your career. And then you, as soon as you get more experience and you get more value as a theater maker, you might choose by the country you want to visit, as something that Heather mentioned. You might choose by the impact you're going to make. Say, that's what English always does. Like we choose strategically, where do we bring this word from Ukraine, at least these days. You may choose where you can establish important connections and basically learn from how the theater is organized. That's what Jerry mentions. So all of these things, they blend into one. And then there is this ideal festival that you always want to go. And then you start thinking about funding, and pretty much with every festival, it's like sometimes they cover anything in country. As soon as you arrive, everything is paid for you, but most times the flight is on you, travel is on you. So that's what you also have to look for. And their situation is different from country to country. There are some grants for US you cannot apply for. There are some opportunities for Ukrainians you can apply for, but not applicable for US citizens, and so on and so forth. Really cool. But the coolest thing that we heard was this exchange of information, person to person. I've been to this festival, that's what I tell you. I've been to this festival, this is who I can recommend to you. And this is what I believe West is all about. You know, grassroots initiatives and telling things you know to a person you know. That's.
Yeah. And what about funding? Have you talked about how do you find the opportunities to fund the festivals? Maybe there were some insights on that. Does anybody want to share? Nope.
Did you get any insights from in your circle?
No. We just talked how amazing Ukraine Fringe is gonna be.
Oh, okay.
I knew that. I mean, we talked about ministries of culture, embassies, and some funding organizations within countries. But I know Diana's been doing some Zoom classes about funding, making it fun. So maybe you can talk to us about that. I'm gonna have to go because I always have a meeting at 11. So
let's make a
go,
photo.
Diana.
Let's go every photo with Heather because she's always leaves early and is never in the picture. So let's make a group photo now.
All right.
Tanya, can you turn on your camera?
Ew.
Okay. Then we'll, okay. Yeah, and one more final picture. And then we'll not worry about it. Okay, cool. So, Diane, can you tell a little bit about these workshops?
Yeah. So again, in our group, I talked about doing different festivals and how I really want to share what I've learned so that I can support other artists, because I've spent a lot of time and money on my own learning curve. And thanks to Heather, I have learned so much as well. So thank you, Heather. That's a big shout out to you. So this time around, I'm going to Edinburgh. I'm doing a short run, and I did my show in Reykjavik as well. So I'm doing a crowdfunding to cover those two festivals. And I was talking in our group, I'm finding it's a little bit different landscape for me doing a second crowdfunding fundraiser than my first fundraiser before COVID. So I'm doing the crowdfunding, but I'm also running workshops on, they're called Fun Ding, because it's fun for me to share ideas and hopefully I can raise funding. So I've been doing one on Edinburgh, just kind of walking people through the resources, because it can be very overwhelming. I even find it overwhelming. And then I'm doing one on just different things I've learned touring, of like how to prepare yourself and do things like that. And then I have one on how to find the fun in funding. But I'm really struggling to find fun right now during this funding period. I can definitely share it with you all of how to find the fun, but it can be hard to find funding. So I think just normalizing that human experience is really the core of my work, is normalizing the human experience of anything we go through.
Thank you. Nice.
That's true. Okay, and I also
Just say a quick goodbye because I have to run to the next meeting. And I was really happy to have a little chat in our little group. We were mostly talking about very different things, and I think think Nasta will tell you more. Thanks a lot, and looking forward to Ukraine Fringe and to all of you in Ukraine on the next fringes next years.
Thank you, Tanya. See you tomorrow.
Bye,
See
Tanya.
you.
Bye.
Yeah, and as our group makes smaller and smaller. Yeah.
Yeah, by the way, about Tanya, she at Ukraine Fringe, she is responsible for the workshop program, because we decided that this Fringe is the first one we experimented with many things. It shouldn't be only showcase of different performances. It should be also, it should also have educational value. And Tanya, as an experienced acting coach and theater director, she will run, she'll organize several acting workshops and theater management workshops for the participants of Fringe, for audience of the Fringe, and we'll see how it works. But I'm excited because Tanya, her second job, she probably didn't say it, she works for Cambridge. So she's quite good with organizational parts, and I'm looking forward how educational part of the Fringe will go. We'll share it with you guys, because something that Diana mentioned with funding workshop is interesting. I used to think about it only as acting workshop being there, but this theater management is a really cool thing. It's really useful.
Well, good news for for you, because I think we talked about with the Ukraine Fringe team that we can also make a series of online workshops from West participants as a part of online program of Ukraine Fringe, because we will have in-person workshops in Kyiv from 31st of August till 3rd of September, but we can also work on online workshop program starting from 21st of August. So that's something to talk about, to think about.
And I have to say, as an artist looking at different festivals, that is a major draw to know that you can also do workshops and learn educational value too. So I'm excited about that. And I'm happy to do something virtually.
Cool. Thank you, Diane.
So, now, as you know, our small, tiny group gets smaller and smaller, I wanted to talk about the organizing, yes, the festival, and specifically Ukraine Fringe. So how is it going? Where are we at? And maybe some, you know, we can share some secrets.
Ooh, presentation time. Anastasia.
What secret do you need?
I don't know. Anastasia.
Tell us about the participants and venues and partners and everything.
Okay.
Yeah.
We have just months before Ukraine Fringe starts in Kyiv, and only 3 weeks before Ukraine Fringe starts online. And we already have a program. It is very big. Now we have 17 performances, and no, not 17, like 15 performances, and plus 8 performances from one person who will be dancing to one-on-one to her audience. And so we have 16 plus 8, like 24 performances of Kyiv program, quite huge. And maybe we will have 2 more from our dear friend Madeleine Bongard. She may come. She wanted to come earlier, but then she had some troubles, and now she's saying that maybe she can come to Kyiv. So we are excited. We may have 1 more country. We already have participants from United Kingdom, from USA, from France. Hello. Yeah, that's our participant, and we may have from Switzerland and from Hong Kong. Yeah. So what can I say more? We have a huge program in our online program on Scene-Saver. We will have more than 20, I think, performances on Scene-Saver, and they're very different. And also we have a small program in our cinema. we will have a live program in Kiev in cinema, and we will show the best performances that were applied to our online program on the big screen. It will be a very cool experience because I never saw theater performances on the big screen in the cinema in Ukraine. It will be the first time, I think. Alex, did you see some performances on the big screen?
Well,
Ever?
they did the British ones, you know, the posh ones from Stratford-on-Avon and stuff, but none of the fringe material, none of the independent artists. Yeah.
None of the fringe materials and none of the festival materials.
Yeah,
They show
correct.
like one performance or two performances, but not 3 days in a row with different performances with fringe participants, and it will be a unique opportunity for us. Maybe someone has some questions.
Yeah, about Ukraine Fringe.
Yeah.
That we can
No,
answer. Three of us, you know, because we are all working on it from a little bit.
Sorry, there's something that came up in our breakout room, and I wanted to draw your attention to it because maybe you don't know. Tanya mentioned that she's been to an international festival in Craiova recently, and I wanted to draw your attention to what's happening in Romania, because it's close to Ukraine, because there is a lot, like there's quite a vibrant cultural life in Romania at the moment. There is Timișoara, which is in Western Romania, is currently this year is the European Capital of Culture. So they have a lot of funding. There's a festival in Sibiu and the festival.
Yeah.
And the festival in Craiova. Yeah, I was saying this in the breakout room as well. The sentiment in Romania is overwhelmingly positive towards Ukraine. So if you go there, people will want to see you. It's just a question of finding funding and stuff. But this year in particular, it might be easier than in other years. So if you were not aware of it, have a look at it when you can.
Thank you, Leo. And it's logistical, it's very simple because there are trains going out, direct trains to Romania. And we've been looking into it. And Tanya, she's been working in Romania. She staged Lucre's performance actually there, which right now is a part of English theater repertoire. So she has quite a lot of contacts, but we definitely need to take a closer look because I didn't know about the Capital of Culture thing and everything. So definitely, thank you. Really cool. Yeah.
And like, if you ever need to intermediate some relationship, I've been away from Romania for 12 years, but I still know a few people. So yeah, we can talk by email or stuff separately.
Really nice.
I think for Romania, I also know Raluska, who is actually coming with a show for the Nigerian festival. Yeah, Raluska is a very good friend too, and she's one of the advisors for the CBU festival. Yeah. Yeah, she was meant to be at the last session, but I sent her the notice very late for the last West session. So yeah.
Is she part of West?
She's not yet, but I sent her the last notice and she was like, well, she had a meeting about the same time, so she could not attend. And for this one, I didn't even remember. I'll make sure that the next notice gets to her earlier so that she can plan.
Or maybe
I think I spoke to her once. She's a great person. Yeah.
Or maybe I share her email with you.
Yeah, you can share her contacts or our contacts with her. So let's get in touch. Okay. So is there anything else, guys, you want to share or ask us or Anastasia about Ukraine Fringe or any other festivals?
I was going to very quickly say that cinema it's a really cool idea, and I know last year the Sydney Fringe, they did that as part of their Fringe, and I think it's around the same time as yours. So I wonder if there's an opportunity for collaboration between the festivals.
The Sydney Fringe. We spoke to them like half a year ago, I guess, but yeah, we can get that.
Did you speak to them? Because I didn't. They didn't reach
Yeah,
out to
I
us.
guess it was exchange of emails. We need to look back into this
Mhm.
because this one,
Mhm.
Adelaide Fringe, we spoke to, and that one, Castlemaine Fringe, the good friends of us, but it's a smaller scale, and
Mhm.
Sydney is much bigger.
Mhm. Jerry, you wanted to say something, ask something?
I want to ask a question. I mean, going by the experience around here, I know that whether Fringe or main festival is festival. And in terms of organizing, my question to you would be: what do you consider the most difficult aspect of organizing a festival, international, domestic, or whatever? What do you, from your experience, what has been the most difficult aspect?
Audience is the most difficult part for, at least for us, because we need to bring this necessity of watching English speaking performances into the heart and mind of Ukrainians. And this international artists who do come to Ukraine, they do deserve full house. That's should and is our priority, getting the audience in. Everything else is usually like good. Volunteers are great. Their coordinators, Veronica, great. Theater organizers, Nasta, great. But audience has always been a pain, and like, yeah, pain and pleasure, because our idea is to make, when they come, they feel great. Usually festival has this spirit and heart and they enjoy it. But the main idea is to get them to come first. So yeah, that's
Yeah, and I think that yes, with English speaking performances, it is very hard to find an audience. But as for me, I was working on Ukrainian speaking festivals, and I can say that sometimes it is very hard when some people are changing their plans. Performers are changing their plans because sometimes you have the full program and it is ready and everything is set up and we know the venue and everything, but sometimes people are just calling and saying, oh, we changed our plans and we can't come or something. And as for me, it is the hardest part. It was the hardest part before Ukraine Fringe.
now it is the audience.
Because now it is the audience. Yeah.
Yay.
I have questions / suggestion. I was sharing that with my partners in the previous group. I was thinking that since you, Alex, had a workshop with Ariane Mushkin a few months ago, when Ariane came back from her experience in Ukraine, she'd had this long interview on the radio about it, on the national radio. Do you think that would be a good idea to try to reach out to her or the Théâtre du Soleil and have the contact of, because they probably have their contact with the press in France, and to draw the attention on the French? Because I think it needs to be it's an international, sort of international festival, even if it's in English, it doesn't matter. It's to show the world that life is still going on and we're still thriving and aspiring for arts and freedom, no matter, and people from all around the world, artists from all around the world are coming, and they may not be as famous as Théâtre du Soleil, but this is existing. So I think, I mean, I don't know if you had the opportunity or the contact or the mean to do that, but since you were part of the workshop and you had the opportunity to work with her, maybe you could try to reach out to her. And because knowing the woman, she would definitely do her best to contact the press in here and try to convince them to do something about it.
That's a great idea, Julie. And you know what? On the final day of the workshop, I did approach Ariane and I invited her personally to come back with Théâtre du Soleil to Ukraine Fringe. And she did check all the dates and she said, well, upon these dates, it's not possible, but she does know about Ukraine Fringe in person. The problem is to get her direct contact because that was a person-to-person thing. As soon as she reads my message, as soon as she reads it somewhere, I believe she would respond. But to get to her, that's the different thing. I'll try. That's a great idea. And I think I know some ways how to get to her.
Me
Yes.
too, but you can maybe still try with the not maybe not directly to her, but I'm sure if you contact the secretary, her secretary, or and just say that you did a workshop with her,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
or they transfer your message or something like that. But maybe I can, I am not gonna swear or promise anything, but maybe I can do my part without just maybe. But
Okay.
she's I think that you can really try that because this is Ayan Mushkin, and she knows you, and she is very supportive. So this is, it won't be, I think it would be more difficult with another director, from another national theater in France, but she is very specific and aside from everyone else in here.
And she's been to Ukraine. She's been to Ukraine with workshops, so we know she's supportive. Yeah.
Yep. Oh,
Yeah, that's a great idea. Let's try.
Yeah.
I'm up for it for sure.
With pleasure.
Yeah. We also reaching out to Theatre Times. We're reaching out to bigger outlets all over the world right now about Ukraine Fringe. We should do stronger. And right now we're sort of being torn apart in between getting Kiev audience in and getting the word out. But just tomorrow we're having the strategic meeting. I guess we'll figure it out, spread it out, more responsibilities, and get even more. I guess we already did the press send out, but these people who know you and who are opinion leaders, that's a totally different thing. So yeah.
Okay. Thank you, everyone, for coming, for sharing your experience today, for listening about Ukraine Fringe. And yeah, we also ask you to share, even like if you were participating in Ukraine Fringe or participated in Project Fest, or want to participate or come to Ukraine Fringe in the future. We really appreciate it if you share on your social media about this festival, especially if you're coming.
Even if not, spreading the word.
Even if not, yes. There will be online program that will be available to everybody, everywhere around the world from 21st of August. So you can spread the word, share your impressions from the festival. And I guess that's about it.
Yeah. If I don't want to test anyone's patience, but I wanted to add a few things related to what's been discussed already. First off, on the educational aspect of the theater, I want to share some of the experience in the UK. In the UK, they are very, very good at teaching theater to children and teaching children about theater. And there are two huge benefits to this. One is that theater, even if people go and become something else, if they become bankers or engineers or something, theater gives them a set of skills that are very useful in any career. Self-confidence, the ability to talk to other people, the ability to be well-spoken, to have clarity in ideas and stuff like that. And the other very important thing is that this creates an audience. Those children that grow with theater in school, they will want to see theater. They will be the audience for later. So I'm not entirely sure. I would be curious to hear if this happens in the US or in France, but they do it very well, or in Nigeria, for instance, if theater is taught in schools, but they do it very well in England. I know they don't do it in Romania, for instance, and that's why it's tougher. When people haven't grown up with theater, it's tougher to get them to come see theater as adults. And the other thing on the topic of funding, obviously this can be a huge thing. We can stay here and talk till tomorrow. But one example, what happened this year at Edinburgh Fringe, Phoebe Waller-Bridge, some of you might know about this. Phoebe Waller-Bridge, who has the Fleabag show, so she's become worldwide famous now. Her Fleabag show started started at the Edinburgh Fringe, and now she has created a fund where she gives £100,000 to 50 companies that take shows to the Fringe. So this year she had something like 700 applications, and she selected 50. Each of those companies received £2,000 to help their festival. And this is obviously one way of funding people who have the means, who have the possibility to sort of put their money in art. It might be difficult in Ukraine now because people who have money will fund the war effort, but yeah, in peacetime, yeah, this is a great sort of venture. And in terms of approach to funding, I think this is I think this is quite obvious actually, but they say in the workshops that I go to, they say actually when you ask someone for money, don't take someone's money if they are not happy that they give you money. So people should enjoy giving you money because you give them the opportunity to support art and to have an impact in society that would otherwise not be there if their money would just stay in a bank. Yeah, yeah, this is all I wanted to say. Sorry.
Thank you, Leo. That's very useful. Yeah, and that's how I feel as well. Like they don't teach kids here acting in Ukraine as well, and that's a shame. And the same about money. Yeah, I'm totally with you.
I had theater lessons in Kherson.
In school?
And we, at school, yeah, we had this subject, theater, and we had performances, and we had a history of the theater and everything. And it was since the 5th grade, but I entered this school since 9th grade. So I had 3 years of theater acting and directing and producing and everything, and it was very interesting.
That's
You
why
were
that's
one of
Women
the
Ensemble
lucky.
is the biggest.
Yeah, you were one of the lucky ones.
Also,
Yes.
we do a lot. We do that a lot in Nigeria. In fact, right from the elementary, it got to a point in the curriculum of the school that drama was taken off. It used to be part of the curriculum, so it was taken up and submerged under literature, I think. But teachers still find a way to use drama, education, to teach their English language, to teach literature and the rest of it. And of course, if you are now interested on a larger scale, you go to the many theater schools around the country. Most of about 40%, 60% of tertiary institutions in Nigeria actually offers theater in different names, maybe theater, drama, performing arts, and whatever. And of course, so it has always been part and parcel of the thing. But at a point in the history of Nigeria, you have this decline in interest in live theater, which is only just coming back in about a decade from now. So when you talk about audience, I could relate with that. You spend a lot of time and money, resources, putting together a production, and then you struggle to get people to come see the production or to see the first. So I could relate with that, very well. However, there was this festival I attend, I think about 3 editions of it in Lithuania. It's called, I think, Theatrium in Lithuania, Klaipėda. The last I attended was last year, which I discovered that in terms of audience, I was wondering, which was why I asked that question, because when I asked what was the most difficult part of organizing it, the festival director thinks it is funding, even though they eventually will get funding, but he thinks funding is the most difficult. And I discovered that the large turnout, sometimes they have to reschedule some productions to do a third run because it was oversubscribed. And I mean, I said to him one day, maybe we should also, West should also, I will link him, and then we'll also find a way to bring Theatrum on the burner here, let him share his experience, of how the theatrium is organized, but because I think they are doing a very good job. I've been there 3 times, except for this year. I could not muster it. So it's a great festival in Lithuania, Klaipėda.
Thank you.
And yeah, the education has to start early. Yeah, Anastasia was lucky to have classes from the age of 9. But I like me, for instance, no one told me anything about theater till 18. Yeah, but this can be an opportunity to do it like outside of schools, having classes for kids, and you can attract them with the fact that they can learn English as well.
Yeah, for example, for me, I also started early, and I started, but it was not in school in curriculum. It like we have this theater studios are pretty common, like in Ukraine. For kids, it's like an extracurricular activity, not connected to the school at all, and they go to the theater studio. And I started doing theater when I was 6. Yeah. So yeah, it was children's theater, but still, yeah, 6 years old, I was already, like acting on stage. Yes, some like dancing, singing, but still, theater, and getting to know theater traditions, culture, and all this, respect to the craft. And yeah, I'm one of the lucky ones, and I'm lucky that my mom said, like, yeah, you should go, because other parents said, oh, when my daughter wants, she will go to the studio, but some kids just never want.
You're right. I came to theater when I was 28 already.
Yeah.
I was watching theater before, but I started doing it and working on myself as an actor first, and then director, and so on. 28 years. And imagine where for English could be, and West could be, and all the festivals could be if I started getting theater education at 6 years old. So yeah.
We had a tradition, like in our Kherson region. I was learning theater since 9th grade, but we had to go to the theater every year, at least twice a year, to the Kherson drama theater. It was the only theater in the region, and every class in every school has to come to the theater at least twice a year. And when I first saw the performance, I think I was 9 years old, and it was a performance about some historical moments in Ukrainian history with these Ukrainian costumes. And I was watching it, and I said, I hate theater. I will never come to theater again. I hate it. It is the most awful thing in the world. Why are they acting so weird? Why are they not human? Yeah, and then there was the second time, and I was already 11 years old, and I was so scared that it will be the same experience. And suddenly I fell in love with the theater, with the same theater, Kherson Drama Theater, our region theater, and it changed my life now. Yeah.
Thank you, everybody, for making good theater. The scary one.
Yeah, that's true. Okay,
Here in the
yeah, Eric. Yeah, go on. Go on. Yeah.
just here in the States, aside from specialist schools, which every state has at least one like drama academy, but for the most part, it's an extracurricular that's done for leisure, in usually in the high school or middle school range. Private drama lessons and things like that are generally expensive, and therefore private school, private stuff, the kids who have got the money, I'm sorry, let me refer, the kids whose parents have the money are the ones who get to do it, and poor kids for the most part don't. There is a major dearth of working class individuals in the American theater who came from a working class background. I'm actually on a couple of working groups that study that, and whatnot, and how can we actually make inroads on that? But unfortunately, there's, at least in the States, there's not a will to fund these kinds of things. I mean, honestly, there's not a will to fund a lot in this country. So there is that. But so yeah, it tends to be well-known plays performed by kids, usually musicals, not always, but usually. So
That's
and it's the first thing to get cut from, if the schools do have the means to have programs, it's the first thing that gets cut.
And actually, right now, it's also become a battleground in the culture wars that we're having here. There was actually just not far from me in Ohio, there was a production of Romeo and Juliet performed by a school that had women cast as both Romeo and Juliet. And that really angered some people who, a group called Moms for Liberty that did what they could to shut it down, and whatnot. So there was a huge fight at one of the school boards and whatnot. My institution, one of the things we looked at was, well, if the school's going to cancel it, can we just bring the kids over here and they can do it on our stage? And then it wound up not being necessary. The school board stopped backing down and decided to back the kids. But that was one of the things we were looking at, actually.
Keeping theaters exclusive to rich kids, I think, is the worst thing that can happen for theater, because it becomes this elitist thing that no one understands, and then that kills the audiences, and there is no theater without audiences.
Yeah, that's true.
France, I wouldn't know about now, but when I was a kid, I was through 80% of the educational system in France is public funded, which makes it easier to introduce the theater form into the educational program. So when I was 7, I was very fortunate to have a teacher who directed us, and we did a play, and also we study theater in theory, because a lot of the educational system until college is a lot about French literature, and theater is a huge part of it. So you will study that in class, but in a very it's no fun. I mean, I remember reading Molière when I was 12, and it's quite boring because it's an old language, and theater is not designed to be read, but to be performed. But we are introduced to theater, and also on a regular basis, because it's part of the program to read plays and to study theater. So teachers will get us to watch plays, and like 3 times a year, something like that. I remember also as an actor, when I did Avignon, you had teachers coming to the festival because they are choosing plays they want to show to their students the year after. So which is great. I remember also that now, for kids at school, after they're done with their day, when they're in elementary school, they have like workshops for, an hour workshop after they're done with their day, and sometimes, most of the time, is theater. So it's theater with children. But I did that as a teacher, actor/teacher. It's most of the time they do that. It's just they're just paying for a babysitter. The class are overcrowded, and half of them didn't choose theater. Because they wanted to do something else, and it was crowded. It was booked, and so they're just they end up into doing the theater class that they didn't choose, and there are 30 of them in the class at 1 hour. So you spend your time doing discipline. So the idea, the general concept is great, but the thing is, you need more money. So I like the fact that yes, in the end, money will make the difference. So if you want your kids to really do like acting, and theater classes, you're gonna have to pay for that because school is gonna be limited. But the school at least gives them a taste of it. And take them to theater. And I come from the ghetto. I come from a poor suburban area of Paris, and I was in public school. And I was very fortunate to have parents who loved theater and would take me to watch plays, but also school was a part of it and would take us to see plays and movies as well. So yes, we're pretty fortunate we have that. But it stays limited.
Okay. Yeah. Anybody else? Final thoughts, because I think that it's already time to rounding up because we are not talking about festivals anymore. And I guess I think that I got this idea right now, and we are talking that it might be interesting to make a separate meeting about the theater education, school, universities, and so on, because that's an interesting topic to discuss, and it's very different even in one country, yes, depending on where what's your upbringing, where you grew up. It can be very different, and it's very interesting to learn about how is it in different countries. So yeah, maybe because September is usually the start of the term in Ukraine, like the new school year, September. So maybe we'll talk about theater education.
Well, that's a great topic. Yeah, that's definitely a good topic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is a great platform, Veronica, because it's not easy to get to hear other